YouTube, welcome in. School is in session. This is Arrakis Academy. I'm gonna teach you everything you need to know about Dune in this long series where I go over everything. So we're gonna be covering villages and the basics of map. This is not a standard map. This is a Conley duel. This is just so that I can explain the game faster and develop things. So to start off with your villages, depending upon what faction you are, you're going to expand differently. Now, I'm going to start with the Atreides because they're typically the faction you're going to want to learn with. So we're going to have this entire tutorial be Atreides based, but almost all of it will transfer over to other factions in terms of the general strategy of the map or how villages actually work. So for villages, they're what you use to build, and they're what establishes your economy, and they are what gets you authority, and they're how you win the game. They're the basics of the 4X portion of the game. So right off the bat, for almost every faction, you're gonna want to capture your spice field first, and you're gonna want to make sure you build a spice harvester within your first 3 buildings. Most people just play it safe and build it first because there's this thing called tax, which you have to pay spice taxes to the, I don't know, to Chome or something, or the Dune spice overlords. So you're going to want to build 2 units right away, typically a trooper and a ranger or some sort of ranged unit. And then after that, it depends on your play style, but some people will just go trooper ranger. I mean, you can't go wrong going like trooper ranger, trooper ranger, trooper ranger initially, and then after that you want to specialize into whatever strategy you're going for, but that's like a basic start. So grabbing villages costs authority. So what you need to do is, you can see down here how much that authority costs. So this is going to cost me 32 to capture. The formal term is annex. So when you annex a village, that's just a fancy term for capturing it. So we want to annex this village, and typically you'll start by annexing all the villages around your base because they're the cheapest. Because if you see, this costs, this village costs 59. But if we go across the map and try to annex a village, it's gonna cost more. So we'll just search over here. Okay, so with villages, there are these things called quirks, which are super important. You have to pay attention to quirks, and you also have to pay attention to unique features. So there are multiple different types of villages that can exist. So one of them, and I'm just doing some random things, I'll explain what I'm doing later. You don't have to worry about all those fast clicks that I do. So look, this village across the map costs 130 to annex compared to right next to your base, which only costs 40. So the reason you want to grab close to your base first is because you need villages to start your economy off, right? You need villages to make units, make money, make spice, water, and yeah, it's crucial, okay? Now, if you are playing smart, and this is more so later strategy we'll get into in other videos, but you want to capture villages that are special regions and villages that give you a tactical advantage over the map and the game. So what do I mean about these unique features that villages can have? Well, you can see these symbols here. So they can have minerals, or they can have spice. They can have rare elements like this gold. They can also have this thing called a fuel cell, which is this right here, or an energy source. So you can always look at tooltips. Reading tooltips is your best friend, okay? This is called the Landsred Council. I'll make a whole nother video on that. Check that out. But this is where politics comes into play. And a lot of these policies can affect your villages. So if you see here, Imperial missionaries, per controlled village or annexed villages, you'll get Solari. So yeah, we'll just vote this up. I'll take some easy money. I don't really care. Okay, so you can see here, the more villages you capture, even if they're the same distance away from your base, the cost to annex villages goes up as you get more villages. So you do need to be mindful of that. Remember how this was 130 earlier? Well, now it's 156 because we've captured more villages. Okay, so in terms of our villages, it's... Oh, and we're just playing against a bot, and it's easy, and we're not going to have to deal with any military or anything like that. This is just to show you the villages and explain them. Okay, so let's talk about what these actually are. So minerals will give you 100% plascrete factory resource production. So you can see here, this plascrete factory is making 20 plascrete, whereas normally a plascrete factory only makes you 10. Now you may be asking yourself, Hacksar, you're saying that plascrete factories only make 10, but this one is making 12. I don't get it. What's causing that? Well, that is what a quirk is. So if you read your quirks, you can pay attention and notice that there are certain bonuses and privileges that these quirks can give you. So specifically on that plascrete village, or this one that's making 12, well, it has a quirk for 20% economy building resource production. And so all of my yellow buildings are going to make 20% more. So you have economy buildings, which are yellow, military, which are red, and statecraft, which are blue. So it's important to know the names of them, because you can see here, we're going to get 1 intel per statecraft building. So we're also making 1 intel just because we've made a research hub. And I'll go over all of the different resources and how they work later. There is this building called the investment office. And the investment office, effects of village quirks are applied 1 more time. So that's 2 quirks that will be applied in total on that village if you have an investment office. So you see right now we're making 12 because we have 1 quirk. We build that investment office and you'll see that go up. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and fix our money situation. And I'll explain what I'm doing here in a second. Okay. So if we take a look at these villages, there's also rare elements, so allows for the construction of a processing plant. Well, no basic village can build a processing plant, but these gold ones can. And the processing plant gives you 20 Solari, which is quite good. If you look at a basic Solari production building, like the wholesale market, it only gives you 4 normally. Or I think it's 5 maybe? I think it's 4. Yeah, it's 4. It's 4. The reason this one's making more is because of my quirks. So you can see now that we have an investment office, this is at 20%, but now it's doubled. So now we're going to get 12. We're going to get 14 instead, okay? Yo, give me all your money, dude. Jesus, you really don't want to give me money. Yeah, it's just a stupid bot. Who cares? Yo, what resources am I missing, bro? I have all of this. What am I missing? Thank you. Jesus. Okay. Okay, so villages have upkeep. So the reason I'm so poor is because I've built so many buildings that have a very high upkeep. And the reason I've built all of the buildings that I have is because this is just to show you guys some things. What I've actually done strategy-wise is in no way something you should replicate. In no way at all. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Twitch, let's take a quick 3-minute ad break to keep pre-rolls off for anyone new that joins. I'll be back in literally 1 minute. Thank you for your patience. Okay, so what's fun about Atreides is that you, What's fun about Atreides is that you can peaceful annex. So that's one of his unique abilities. So what peaceful annexing is you're able to capture villages across the map without sending any units to actually like kill the militia and then annex it. So when you peaceful annex, these militia that are here stay alive, actually. And it's Nito Burrito for sure. Okay. So other things with villages, there are these things called energy sources. So the energy sources give you fuel cells, and it allows you to build a fuel cell factory. So none of these villages we've talked about so far give you things right away. They just give you bonuses for certain buildings you can build. Specifically these like the symbols, right? Minerals, rare elements, that kind of thing. Okay, so we got another spice field. Absolutely, we want to build more spice harvesters. Okay, so yeah, there's village upkeep. So you can see if you hover over resources, you can see the total upkeep. So over here, this village is costing me 34 solari a day and 6 water. Now, the pillage reward is if someone were to attack me and pillage it. It lets you know how much money you're gonna make. I might miss tax, actually. That's embarrassing. No, I believe. I believe. I believe. I believe. And then in order to build in villages, you need plascrete. So that's like the main thing that determines your build ability or how much you can flesh out your buildings. Some factions really struggle with plascrete production. Other factions really excel at it. Now, specifically, there are these POIs, or points of interest, around the map. Absolutely, you want to pay attention to those. So you can send a unit over specifically to ruins. I love this POI because it gives you more plascrete. And there's several that give you plascrete. You can see here, this abandoned Fremen camp will give you more plascrete. Yeah. Okay. Damn it, we did miss tax. I'm so bad at this game. Okay. Now what I've done is build maintenance centers. That's kind of what I've been clicking really quickly to do things. So you can see maintenance centers reduce Solari upkeep in ally villages by 20%. So right now this bad boy upkeep is 11.5. If I destroy the maintenance center, it goes up to 14. But it also covers the neighboring regions. So you want to be strategic about where you build your maintenance centers so that you minimize the overlap that occurs. So because maintenance centers have an upkeep, right? They themselves have an upkeep of 2 water. So you don't want to waste your water. On villages, there's plenty of information. So not only can you see if it has any special modifiers, like, or what are these? What would I call these things? Village bonuses. We'll just call them village bonuses. That's a nice thing to have. And then another thing to keep in mind is your spice silos. So spice silos will give neighboring regions and that specific region that it's in 20% spice production. And you can see it says ×1 max. So if any feature doesn't say ×1 max or ×2 or 3 max, it can stack infinitely and you can keep getting that bonus over and over. So it because of the 1 max, it doesn't make sense to build a spice field here and here, right? Because it's not going to double that effect. But you see, building it here is a strategic move because this region is touching this spice and this spice. And you can see what villages are neighboring by this outline here. Okay. So with villages, they can also come under attack by Fremen or renegade raiders, which are things that may or may not show up this game for us. Okay, so now let's talk about special regions. So special regions are the ones that have this cute little star on them. So you can hover over the star, or you can click the village and hover over this star, and that'll tell you all the information that you want to know. So for example, this observatory mountain. And when you play in multiplayer, people will typically not refer to villages by their name. Typically, people will refer to them by their bonuses. And so, or their special region name. So I would never call this Ubma. I would call this Observatory Mountain. So if I'm trying to negotiate with someone and I'm like, hey, if you abandon Sandfall and get rid of this village, I won't attack you, or something like that, right? And there are plenty of situations where you want to negotiate like that, but we won't get into it here. That'll be another video. So remember, Atreides has this peaceful annex ability. And so what that is I can annex this normally by going and killing all the militia and then keeping my units in it, or I can peacefully annex it. So how that works is, dude, it's 10 influence. You're so greedy. Oh my god. Okay, so what we can do here is peacefully annex it. So it costs authority and it costs influence. The influence cost does not go up as you capture more villages, but the authority cost does. But Atreides has this really nice technology of cultural assimilation, where peacefully annexing costs 20% less authority. So what's really nice is if I were to send a unit over and annex it, I'll spend 209. But if I peacefully annex it, I only spend 168. So if you can, you want to try to get your influence production up so that you can peaceful annex as many villages as you can rather than regularly annex them. Another important thing is your authority production, because authority is how you make as how you annex villages, right? That's how you capture things. So in the Arrakis information slot, each dude will make +1 authority as a base. So by keeping Arrakis information slots filled, you get more authority and capture more villages. So it's super necessary to do. Okay, so now that we've captured Observatory Mountain, let's look at the bonuses for this special region. So data center and listening post production goes up by 50%, and you get plus 1,000 hegemony. So hegemony is how you win the game. You need 30,000 to win. And each village automatically gives you 600 hegemony. And that's kind of why you want villages, not only for everything we've talked about so far, but also for winning the game, right? But special regions are super important, not only for their bonuses, but this village will actually give you 1,600 hegemony. So you can see right now we're at 21.2. If I abandon, okay, 22.4. If I abandon this, we'll drop down to 21. So 20.8. Let's see it in action. Hey, what the hell? Hey, wait, why did I drop down to 19.9? I don't get it. In Conley Duel, do villages give you more authority? Oh, so I control 10 regions and I'm given 15,000 authority. So I think in Conley Duel, because this isn't regular single player or multiplayer, the authority and hegemony bonuses are a little different. So just, yeah, that's a little different. But normally it is 600, and so then a special region is 1,600. Okay, so this is a renegade base. So renegades will occasionally arrive around the game as the game progresses, and they are kind of hard to take out. They have these pretty strong units. And what's fun about renegade bases is they give you guild favors. So what guild favors are used for is if you build a spacing guild branch, you can eventually build a spaceship, or what people call frigates normally. It's just like a large, big, major unit that you should always try to get out and use. Each faction has its own special frigate. Henceforth, I will refer to it as spaceship because that's what I prefer to call them. So in these villages, when you attack the renegade base, they all pop out and they do a bunch of damage. And so you murder them all, it goes well, whatever. I don't know what I'm getting, but whatever, we're just going. It doesn't matter. Okay, beautiful. So you can see I'm getting 2 guild favor for each kill that happens. Okay, beautiful. And if this is the first video you're watching ever of Dune, I suggest you keep in mind that I'm playing on super fast speed and I'm playing in accelerated game mode. And then on top of that, when you fully pillage or liberate this renegade base, you get another 30 guild favors. In order to build your spaceship, you need to have 10 fuel cells available, and you need 100 guild favors, how much it costs. So Atreides is the Kraken. Whoa, Harkonnen! It doesn't matter. Okay, so now let's talk about trying to find sieges. So there are points of interest around the map that will reveal a siege. That is one way that you can find sieges that spawn in random spots all around the map. Sieges cannot spawn directly next to each other. Like if there's a siege in this region, there can't be a siege in any of the regions that it's touching. Sieges can't spawn in deep deserts, and they can't spawn in the desolation, which is basically just another desert. Okay, so we're gonna buy this, or we're gonna investigate this point of interest and reveal a siege. You can also find sieges by using your probe setup. So you can randomly use probe setup around the map, and you can see it advances detection of any siege in the region. So we're just gonna cast it here, and we'll see if we find a siege. We probably won't, but that's okay. And then, that ability costs intel, and I'll go over all the buildings that exist in a second. Okay, so we found a siege. It's right here. So this siege you can trade with. So you can give it 4 water and you'll get 6 plascrete. And then eventually you'll get up to 100 relation level. This level increases as you continually trade with it. When you hit 100, you can put a unit in here if you control the region. You can only ally. So this is ally and this is just trading. So you can only ally if you have the region and you're at 100. You max out your authority at 500, so you never want to sit capped out unless it's a very endgame sneaky strategy, which we'll cover in an advanced strategy video. So when it comes to this region, it has flame, so we'll build that really quickly. Another thing that's important about villages is special regions have this tech. So there is this technology. Every faction in the game has this, and it's subtly different for 1 or 2 factions, but for the most part, whew, trinkets is where you get this thing called the crafts workshop. So you can press B to lock tooltips in place so that you can hover over another tooltip. So we'll lock this tooltip into place so we can hover over hegemony. And then we'll hover over this and lock this in place. So if you're ever really trying to read and get into the details, know that you can lock tooltips into place to help you read things. So the crafts workshop generates hegemony, which is fantastic. Because remember, hegemony is how you win the game. At least it's one way you can win the game. There's another point of interest that you can use to reveal sieges. This is one of them, the abandoned Fremen camp. So these points of interest, if you have any heroes or any agents in the Arrakis information slot, you can see that it allows, if you have an agent assigned there, it will help you by allowing you to use agents to study or develop these points of interest, henceforth called POIs. So instead of sending a unit to a POI, you can just choose to search it yourself. But you can only search POIs that are in your regions or one away from your regions, with a few exceptions. If you're smugglers, your underworld headquarters, which will be explained in another video, allows you to capture POIs in other people's territories. Carino has a counselor, which allows you to grab POIs anywhere on the map. And you can send a unit over. Units can capture POIs regardless of how far away. The in your region or next to a region only applies to using your doodads. So mountains are cool because they can cause almost like a maze. So you can see here, if I run through this mountain, I have to go through here. I can't walk through anywhere else. And so it enables you to do some cool things with kiting, which is where you run away and strategically move your units to maximize their combat ability. So you can see this yellow bar or orangey is their supply. So when you're not in your region, you lose supply. How you get more supply is by having more water, and the less water you have, the less supply you have, and the faster your units will run out of supply. So let's see what happens if I run out into here and I run out of supply. So because I have 35, I have quite a lot of supply. They're gonna be fine for a little bit. They're gonna do their thing. Okay, so these dudes are out of supply. Well, you can see because he's out of supply, he's losing health extremely quickly. This is not due to combat. This is not due to anything. Even if he was just running through the desert and chilling on his own, that would happen to him. Okay, so let's try to save some of our army. Ooh, a worm is nearby. Perfect. So if there's a worm, there's a red exclamation point that pops up. That means that a worm can come and eat them. However, there is this thing called a thumper. So when running around the map, you can get a decoy thumper. How this decoy thumper works is you place it in a region and all of its neighbors will no longer be able to spawn worms. How worms spawn is in spice fields. They'll occasionally spawn to eat your harvesters. And if you walk over this like spicy area with units, it'll trigger a worm spawning, typically. And also, just running through the desert will trigger a worm spawning. Or staying on land. So what you'll notice is the exclamation point when a worm spawns is a bright red and it's like illuminated. But that means that unit can be eaten by a worm. However, if you have a unit on cliffs or terrain that cannot have a worm, so basically anything that's not sand, it can't be eaten. So we'll see these units should get wormed soon. And if we run them over this little spice, it should increase. And then the larger the army that's running around, the more it'll attract a worm. So we're gonna send this unit on top of this terrain here. You see how this falls away? It's no longer able to get eaten, but obviously this dude is. So now we can see he can be eaten by a worm. So let's activate a decoy thumper in this region. And now no sandworm can spawn here. Even if I have a full army that's super big, no worms can spawn here. But if my enemy was smart and he had a thumper as well, you can thumper a region next to a thumper and it'll still cause a worm to spawn here. And then when you use this decoy thumper, this region instantly causes worms to spawn, or rapidly will cause worms to spawn, or it's much more likely. Okay, so yeah, they'll all get eaten. And only one worm spawns at a time for the most part. So you only ever have to worry about one worm. And after a worm eats someone, typically you won't get eaten again for at least, like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds. Oh, wow, that was quick. Well, I'm playing on 2x speed. Typical multiplayer is played on 1.5. Okay, so another thing is cliffs. So not only does this cute little terrain protect you, but villages protect you. So you can see how this isn't sand. That will protect you from a worm. And also cliffs do, these cliffs here. Sieges can only spawn in cliffs, by the way. So if you're using probe setup to randomly look for sieges, don't use it in territories that don't have cliffs. So a bad one to use a radar scan in would be this one, because there's cliffs, but they're in this region. It's in like the lower region that has the cliffs, where the cliffs really count. So in this region, no matter what, there won't be a siege here because there's no cliffs. Also, there won't be a siege here no matter what because it's touching a main base. So if we want to look for a siege, let's make sure it's not touching a main base. And let's make sure that it has some cliffs. So definitely not this one. Maybe Ubanim would have one. Okay, let's take a look-see at pillaging sieges. So if you pillage a siege, you're going to get authority. So you can see the pillage reward is 44 authority and plenty of money. So sieges are great to pillage. And if a Fremen's in a lobby, it takes away some of their bonuses. And it's always good to pillage them. But it will make the Fremen want to attack you. And that's the basics of villages and the map and how it works. The map starts as blacked out with a fog, and you have to send ornithopters to discover the map. If you send multiple ornithopters to the same place that's fogged, they will search that village faster. So if you fly an ornithopter into an undiscovered region, the fog goes away, but it doesn't discover the POIs or the village. So after you get rid of the fog, then there's question marks, and they have to go and investigate the question marks to reveal POIs or bonuses or the village. Now, special regions always look the same. So Observatory Mountain will always have this mountain. Well of Riches will always have this Well of Riches. Stuff like that. Polar is always spawned in the middle and always looks like this. And the Polar Sink is an incredible special because you can build this thing called the Water Extractor, which will give you 25 water at its base. Quirks. Let's talk about possible quirks quickly. So you have Former Smugglers, which gives you extra resources from pillaging. This is a great perk if you're Harkonnen or Smugglers. It's not that great if you're other factions. It's good for Fremen too. These quirks that say the village has at least one building of each type. So that means that I need 1 economy, 1 military, and 1 statecraft. You can go over that, so it's not like you need just 1 of each, right? I could have 3 economy, and as long as I have also 1 blue and 1 red, I have all 3, so the court counts. Now, there's also versatile, which gives you plus 20, once again, when you have 1 of each. Handyman for minus 40 building costs, and 40% cost to add a building slot. So you start with 2 building slots, I think. Or no, you start with just 1 building slot when you annex a village. And then the plascrete cost goes up as you get more building slots purchased. So you can see it costs 100. As I buy this, it's 200 now. Yes, dude, Symbol, the 20% XP is great. Regardless of what faction I'm playing, I always investment office 20% XP. It's so good. You can have plascrete production as Solari, 50% of it. So you can see I'm making 10 plascrete and I'm making 11 Solari, but I don't have any money on here. So I'm making 11 because I get half of my plascrete production from that. And then, I don't know where the rest of that money's coming from. Whatever, it's free money. Woo! Oh, wait, this is Conley Duel, so things are better or something. I don't know. Okay, other things to know about the map. Oh yeah, like Spaceship Cruiser always has this spaceship. Spaceship Cruiser will spawn these scraps. So Spaceship Cruiser is a great point of interest because it allows you to get your spaceship out much faster than other people. And spaceships are so crucial to military strength that Spaceship Cruiser is one of the best specials to get if you're rushing for your spaceship. Factions that should rush the spaceship are Harkonnen and Smugglers. They have such good bonuses from their spaceships. Everyone else, their spaceships are good, but they're not like necessary to rush in my opinion. Other things with villages would be, wow, we still haven't found another siege. Okay, so like this is an example of, or no, yeah, maybe this one will have one. Yeah, I don't care, come on. Okay, other things. So your main base has these villages in it, and they're called major buildings. Major buildings are the most important part of the game that most new players forget about or don't really utilize. So every experienced player, as soon as you unlock the ability to build major buildings, which happens at 2,500 hegemony, they will be ready to build a major building. They're expensive. They cost 500 plascrete and 1,000 Solari to build. And they can have these bonuses over here. So you can see the size of my major building slots is different than other factions. So mine looks like this as a Atreides, but other factions will look differently. Like Vernius has 3 slots, so it'll just have 3 rows here. So you can see if you hover over the slots, you'll see what bonuses are possible. So if it is a 1 slot major building grouping, you can see I can only build 1 in this group. You can see how they're kind of bordered and grouped together. So if I build a major building here, it counts as like 1 group. And for each group that you have completed, you get associated bonus. So for every single yellow building that I have built, I get 15% economy research speed increase. Now, if I were to build a yellow building here, if I have 1 yellow building here, you can see this won't double. because it's only if you have the district. Okay, that's what it's called, districts. Yeah, so these groupings are called districts. So it's only a district bonus if you have the whole thing filled. So I'm gonna build this, and it's not gonna double my faster research. It's gonna just leave it at 15. But if I were to delete this, I lose that bonus because I'm no longer filling up a 1 slot, but instead I'll move it here, and then I'll get the 2 bonus, and the 2 bonus is 30 Solari production. Really not that good, not that necessary. So the reason these are so important is for the district bonuses, but also just what the major buildings do. Most people will build these 2 major buildings first because they're so important. The administrative hall and the research center. Extra knowledge is so important, and also extra hegemony every time you pay tax, because you get 1,000 hegemony on tax when you pay it successfully. So getting an extra 200 hegemony over the course of, 5, 6, 7 taxes, that's eventually over 1,000 hegemony if you get to month 11 or month 12. And so if I build my research center earlier than someone else, in the late game, when it gets down to, 29.5 hegemony versus 29.2 hegemony, and we're both racing to try to get to 30, if that second place person had built his research center right away, he could already be at 30k hedge because he would have gotten all those 200 bonuses. Now, other things to consider would be your major buildings, the admin hall. So authority, remember, authority is how you capture villages, which not internally, inadvertently boosts your hegemony production, because authority is how you capture villages. Villages are how you get hegemony. The more authority you have, the more villages you get, the more hegemony you get. Hegemony is how you win. Super important to get this extra authority production. People will go back and forth on whether they start with admin hall or start with research center. Yeah, something to consider. Now, man, that's it. That's villages and the map explained in kind of unique features. Deserts or deep deserts will cause you to lose supply not twice as fast, 3 times as fast, because it's plus 200%. And then they also lower unit speed. Now, you can use thumpers, and deep deserts also spawn worms more often. So typically, if you're gonna end up running across a desert, you use a thumper in a region neighboring the desert. You also use this ability called a supply drop. So a supply drop gives your units 80 supply a day, and units won't lose supply if they're in a region that has the supply drop active. So that's kind of if you're low on water or need to travel really far, that's how you can get across the map. With Atreides, it's great if you peaceful annex something, build an airfield, and then you can just fly over there. Carino has a special technology where he can use his allies' airfields. He can get across the map that way. And Carino's spaceship allows him to swap his spaceship into airfield mode, where it can't move, it can't shoot, it can't attack, but it acts as a temporary airfield when in that position. Other things with villages to remember would be some unique things. So Stakhanov has this counselor. No, I don't want to get into those unique things. This is just basic map and villages. So last thing we'll cover is all of the buildings. So you have spice harvesting to get spice. You have your silos, which we talked about. Plascrete making. Maintenance center we talked about. Market, which just makes you a little bit of money. So the wholesale market has no water upkeep or solari upkeep. So if you have extra building slots and you're not really using them or plan on using them, wholesale market's a great choice, even though it's a really poor production. Processing plant is only available in rare elements or well of riches. Water extractors only available in polar sink. Dew collectors provide you water per the wind level of the village region. So if you zoom out, you can see that this is a 4 wind strength. So if I build a dew collector in this village, it will make me 4 water. You can also see the wind strength by looking down here and see 4 there. Now, other buildings are the recruitment center or office, where you get +3 manpower. Fuel cells we talked about. Turrets that attack enemy units. A military base, which is crucial for most of your border territories, and it does affect regions. So similar to the maintenance center and spice harvest or spice silo, you don't need them in every village, just one, and then its neighbors are covered. Airfield allows fly in units, and Atreides has a cool unique feature with his counselor that allows you to speed up village speed, production, or buildings. Not production, build speed. Sorry, Harkonnen is production bonus. So what's fun is if you zoom all the way out on the map, you can toggle the overlay. So you can turn off or on what you want to see. So you can turn on harvesters, you can turn on what resources are on the map, villages, scouting, so like whether there's sieges or renegade bases, economy, your army, airfields, missiles, and resupply zones. So I typically leave missile batteries off because I confuse them with my airfields. So sometimes I'll think that a region has an airfield when in reality it doesn't. And so then I'm like, oh, I can fly my units over there whenever I want and protect it if someone attacks it. But then I don't actually have an airfield there. It was a missile battery indicator. So I almost always go in. I mean, look at this, right? You're totally gonna think you could fly here if I don't have an airfield. You're still gonna see that turret range. The last thing is supply area. So the supply area, you have to have your units inside these rings to regain health and supply. They will not regenerate health or supply in your region unless they're in one of these bubbles. You can spread out your supply zone by spreading out your villages. So you can see if we build this, boom, it extends the supply area. What's a niche situation is when villages have the whole region as buildable. So in certain villages, you can get away with having, so like if I were to capture Polar Sink, you can build stuff all around the sink. So I could actually build an airfield over here, and maybe people won't see it when they attack the village, because typically people destroy airfields first. That way you can't fly in and reinforce it. So you could like hide your airfield kind of far away from the village, and maybe they won't see it, and then you can fly in. Or maybe you'll place turrets near each other, because in the late game you can have 2 turrets in the same village. Or maybe you have 2 villages close to each other, so you want to build the turret in this village as close as you can to this village, and vice versa, so that the turrets overlap, and when they try to attack, if they want to take out a turret, they have to deal with the damage from the other turret that's nearby. That's it. That's villages, guys. That is the village and the map explained. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. If you're still here, I love you guys, and I'll see you on the next one. Oh, wait, what is that? Oh. Class is out. Okay, have a good day, guys. Bye.